back to UnRequired Reading. I'm Isabel, and in this week's episode, we're going to be reading The Old Man and the Sea. So the reason I want to read this book is because I see a lot of people talk about it, and I'm kind of a huge Hemingway fan. I've only read Hills Like White Elephants, but it's one of my favorite short stories ever, and I'm really curious about a longer book of his, even though this is like a 100-page book. But I'm really curious what a full story is like, and this book gets like kind of mixed reviews. It has a 3.8 on Goodreads out of 5. And that's kind of the range I've been shooting for. Like Shatter Me was also 3.8. I think Throne of Glass was as well. So I'm really excited to read this book, and I think it might become a new favorite of mine. I will put in clips of me reading it and my initial reactions, and then later we'll talk about reviews and my final thoughts. I've been reading for, I don't know, like 15 minutes. I'm on page 29, and I just think this quote is like beautiful. He always thought of the sea as la mar, which is what people call her in Spanish when they love her. Sometimes those who love her say bad things of her, but they are always said as though she were a woman. Some of the younger fishermen, those who used buoys as floats for their lines and had motorboats, bought when the sharks' livers had brought much money, spoke of her as El Mar, which is masculine. They spoke of her as a contestant or a place or even an enemy, but the old man always thought of her as feminine, and as something that gave or withheld great favors, and if she did wild or wicked things, it was because she could not help them. The moon affects her as it does a woman, he thought. I don't know, it's just kind of sweet. Like, I think the way he describes things is really pretty. The whole time, I've just kind of been lost in the book. I read, like, the first 20 pages at school yesterday, and now I'm finally picking it back up, and it kind of just flies by. Like, I don't even notice the time passing. I pick it up and just like let it wash over me. It's so pretty. So far I think I'm gonna love this book, and I'll update you when something else happens. Okay, I've moved to just laying on the floor now, but I'm almost done with the book, and I love this line right here. Half fish, he said, fish that you were. I am sorry that I went too far out. I ruined us both. But we have killed many sharks, you and I, and ruined many others. How many did you ever kill, old fish? You do not have that spear in your head for nothing. He liked to think of the fish and what he could do to a shark if he were swimming free. I should have chopped the bill off to fight them with, he thought, but there was no hatchet and there was no knife. But if I had, and could have lashed it to an oar-butt, what a weapon! Then we might have fought them together. What will you do now if they come in the night? What can you do? Fight them, he said. I'll fight them until I die. Final line, okay. Up the road, in his shack, the old man was sleeping again. He was still sleeping on his face, and the boy was sitting by him watching him. The old man was dreaming about the lions. That's so wholesome. All done. I finished. Okay, so I finished the book, and I think this might be my favorite book I've read the whole time. I thought it was so interesting, honestly. It was just interesting, and like super powerful descriptions. Just overall really good book. Reading reviews, there's a few things that people talk about not liking in it, and mainly it's that the book is a little bit plotless. Like, it's kind of just describing like a week in this guy's life. Like, there's not a lot of action. And then the second main thing is that people think it lacks metaphors or like a deeper meaning, which I completely disagree, but I'm gonna read some reviews. So someone gave it 2 stars and just said pointless flop, which I don't agree with, but I think is pretty funny because I don't think this book is pointless or a flop. It basically won Hemingway a Nobel Prize, so I don't think it really flopped. And then I think this book holds a lot of meaning, but many people don't, and I'm gonna get into it, but I think it's an interesting case where the book really is polarizing, like right down the middle, which is why it has the 3.8 stars. It's either you love it and you give it a 4 or 5, or you didn't really find anything valuable in it. One review says, I found this novel boring, repetitive, and unfulfilling. Hemingway writes about an old man who hunts fish in the sea. The man displays some resilience while staying on his boat. Hemingway touches on themes like life and death, nature, and human and animal relationships. His writing has nothing special about it, other than a dullness others perceive as concision or sparseness. Perhaps I just find it sad that we hype this book up so much for its depiction of strength and courage. Overall, an alright portrayal of perseverance, but nothing more than that. So I don't really disagree with this comment. I think, I don't know, for a book written in 1950, I'm not really looking for some like progressive stance or like, you know, facing adversity to like social issues. I don't think it needs to be that. Like, it can just be a book about a guy fishing. Like, I think that's okay. I think it's kind of silly to say that every book needs some greater message or some motivation behind it, which I think this book has. It's just that it doesn't fight like a social issue. It's not making a statement about the world. The book is more about making peace with life and kind of about like the joy in the things you have to do, I think, because the way the old man just sits in his boat and perseveres holding on to this giant fish for like days, it's kind of heartwarming because by the end of it, you realize that he has this one friend and it's this boy, and he'll kind of do anything for him. He's so caring, and it really it encapsulates the like simplicity of life, and I think that is enough of a message. It doesn't need to make some greater statement, and I think that's okay. I don't know. So yeah, those are the main complaints, is that it kind of lacks a deeper meaning, and that it's just kind of pointless. Like, it's just 100 pages of nothing, and I don't agree with that. But the things I think are true about the book is that it has like perfect descriptions and like perfect characterization. I think you just kind of are rooting for this man no matter what he does, because he's so simple. Like, there's nothing to dislike about him. One review says, "The Old Man of the Sea is told with extraordinary simplicity. It is amazing that Hemingway accomplishes so much using so little. Hemingway sacrifices nothing, shows that brevity is the essence of style here. He clearly draws a portrait of the inner and outer strength of this amazing man, a man who faces each day with a quiet dignity." And I think that's exactly what I like about it, is honestly just the way that the old man is written. I think you just kind of want to be his friend. That doesn't really make sense because he's just like such a simple man, but the way he looks at life is so unique and interesting, and I think that's the strength of this book, is seeing the world through this guy's eyes. Like that passage I read about the way he talks about the ocean and it being feminine, that moment especially, it just makes you really appreciate him, because he truly adores the ocean and the sea and everything he's doing, and there's no other thing he could be doing besides fishing. Not because it's all he knows how to do, but because it's all he wants to do, and I think that is so beautiful. The Old Man and the Sea is not just a tale of a man and a fish. It is a story of man against nature, in valor in the face of adversity. Those who criticize this brilliant work, I understand today we live lives far removed from the old man's world. But Hemingway forces us to remember the spirit of the individual, the struggle for human dignity in the face of our daily struggles to survive. Hemingway forces us to recognize bravery, tenacity, expertise, skill, and strength. That's kind of exactly the point, is that this book just kind of puts you in a different perspective. Like, this man is not living the best life. He's not rich. He's not full of people in his life. He basically has one friend, and all he does is fish. But he's kind of more happy than any of us are because of the way he perceives life. There's this really good passage in the book about him arm wrestling this guy and how he did it for like 3 days straight because neither one of them were willing to give up. And even though the old man is clearly the weaker person, he won because he will not give up. And I think it's so refreshing to see a character whose basically only personality trait is that he's just strong-willed, and he's not even stubborn to the point of flaw, because it kind of works out for him, but he just knows that he doesn't need to give up, so he won't. And I really liked that. So all in all, I think the story is definitely worth it, especially since it's like 120 pages. It's so fast. I love the way Hemingway writes, and the level of description used is wonderful. It's really so good. I think that most people would like this book. I mean, clearly most people don't like this book, but I think that they should. I would say that people should read it because I think it deserves all of the hype. So with that, comment down below if you've read this book and tell me your thoughts. And thank you for watching this week's episode. Be sure to follow Creative Communications on Twitter. I'll have the handle on the screen. And subscribe to the YouTube channel below. Tune in next time for episode 5. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.